Captain Jake Morrison walked through the long metal hallway of the Galactic Council Station. His boots made soft sounds on the smooth floor. The walls were covered with strange symbols from 12 different alien worlds. Jake had seen these symbols many times before, but today they felt different. Today felt important. Behind him walked Dr. Lisa Carter and Ambassador Kyle Rogers. Lisa carried a thick folder full of research papers. Kyle held a small device that contained all their diplomatic files. They were the 3 humans chosen to represent Earth. At these peace talks, the hallway led to a huge round room with a high ceiling. 12 different seats were arranged in a circle. Each seat was made for a different alien species. Some were tall and thin. Others were short and wide. The human seats were simple chairs that looked very plain next to the others. Jake looked around the room. The Altarians sat in tall golden chairs that sparkled in the light. Their leader, Counselor Vexstar, had blue skin and forearms. His eyes were bright yellow and looked down at everyone else. The Zephyrians sat across from them in dark metal chairs. Their leader, High Chancellor Zorthik, had gray skin and sharp teeth. He smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. Other aliens filled the remaining seats. The Regellians looked like tall birds with feathers that changed colors. The Centaurians had 6 legs and moved like giant insects. The Draconians had scales that caught the light like mirrors. Each species looked very different from the others. Jake sat down in his plane chair. Lisa sat to his left, Kyle to his right. Around them, the other species talked in their own languages. Some made clicking sounds. Others spoke in deep, rumbling voices. The room filled with noise as everyone prepared for the meeting to start. A loud bell rang 3 times. The room became quiet. Counselor Vexstar stood up. His 4 arms moved as he talked. "We gather today because of a great threat," Vexstar said. His voice was high and sharp. "The Zephyrian Empire wants to take over 3 star systems. These systems belong to smaller species who cannot defend themselves. We must decide what to do." High Chancellor Zorthik stood up from his metal chair. "The Zephyrian Empire needs these systems," he said. His voice was deep and rough. "Our people are growing. We need more worlds to live on. The small species are not using these worlds properly." Jake had read about this problem for months. The Zephyrians wanted to expand into space that belonged to 3 smaller alien species. These smaller species had asked the Galactic Council for help. The Council had called this meeting to find a peaceful solution. Kyle raised his hand. "The humans would like to speak," he said politely. Vexstar looked at him with his yellow eyes. "The humans may speak," he said. "But remember, your species has only been in space for 200 years. You are still learning about galactic politics." Kyle stood up. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. "We have studied this problem carefully," he said. "We think there might be a way to help everyone." "Please continue," said the Regellian representative. Her feathers turned from blue to green as she spoke. "The 3 systems that the Zephyrians want have many planets," Kyle explained. "Some of these planets are not being used by anyone. The Zephyrians could settle on these empty planets. The smaller species could keep their home worlds. Everyone would be happy." Zorthik shook his head. "That is not enough," he said. "We need the best planets, not the empty ones." Jake decided to speak. "What if we helped make the empty planets better?" he asked. "Humans have good technology for terraforming. We could help make these worlds perfect for Zephyrian families." Several aliens around the room made interested sounds. The Draconian representative leaned forward. "That is an interesting idea," she said. But Vexstar raised all 4 of his arms. "Wait," he said loudly. "We are not here to listen to human ideas. Humans are too new to space. They do not understand how things work. But their idea might help, said the Centaurian representative. No, Vextar said firmly. Humans have been in space for only 200 years. We Altarians have been traveling between stars for over 3,000 years. The Regellians have been in space for 2,000 years. Even the Zephyrians have been spacefaring for 1,000 years. Humans are children compared to us. Jake felt his face get hot. Our age in space does not make our ideas wrong, he said. Vextar laughed. It was not a nice laugh. Young species always think they know everything, he said. But wisdom comes with age. You humans need to observe and learn from your betters. Lisa stood up. She was a smart woman who had studied alien cultures for many years. We have spent decades learning about all your species, she said. We understand your cultures and your needs. Maybe that helps us see solutions that others miss. Solutions? Vextar said. What solutions can a species that just learned to fly between stars possibly offer? You humans are like children who just learned to walk, trying to teach adults how to run. Other aliens in the room began to nod. The Regellian representative's feathers turned yellow with agreement. The Draconian representative sat back in her chair. Even some of the smaller species seemed to agree with Vextar. Jake tried again. We have experience with conflicts on Earth, he said. We have learned ways to solve problems that seem impossible. Earth problems are not galactic problems, Zorthik said. Your world is tiny. The galaxy is huge. What works on one small planet will not work across many star systems. Kyle opened his folder. We have prepared a detailed plan, he said. It shows how to solve this problem step by step. We do not need human plans, Vextar said. We need serious solutions from experienced species. The room was quiet for a moment. Jake looked around at the other aliens. Most of them were looking at Vextar with respect. A few looked at the humans with what might have been pity. Vextar stood up again. I propose that we limit human participation in these talks, he said. They may stay and observe. They may learn from us, but they should not waste our time with amateur suggestions. I second that proposal, said Zorthik quickly. One by one, the other species agreed. The vote was 10-2. Only the humans and one small species voted against the proposal. It is decided, Vextar announced. Humans will have observer status only. They may watch and learn, but they will not participate in our discussions. Jake looked at Lisa and Kyle. Both of them had the same expression on their faces. They were not angry. They were not surprised. They looked like people who had just learned something important. Kyle quietly closed his folder. Lisa gathered her research papers. Jake stood up slowly. Where are you going? Asked the Draconian representative. Back to our ship, Jake said simply. But you can stay and observe, Vextar said. You might learn something useful. Jake looked at the Altarian counselor. We have learned enough, he said. The three humans walked out of the great chamber. Their footsteps echoed in the quiet hallway. Behind them, the other aliens continued their meeting. They seemed happy to continue without human interference. As they walked toward their ship, Kyle spoke quietly. Upload everything to the secure servers, he told Lisa. Already done, she replied. Jake nodded. They had work to do, but not here. Not anymore. The UES Horizon was waiting for them at the docking bay. It was a simple ship, built for diplomacy, rather than war. As they climbed aboard, Jake took one last look at the massive council station. Set course for Earth, he told the pilot as their ship pulled away from the station. Jake wondered if the Galactic Council understood what they had just done. Probably not, but they would learn soon enough. The galaxy was about to become a much more complicated place. Back in the Great Chamber, Counselor Vextar looked very pleased with himself. He spread all 4 of his arms wide and smiled at the other aliens. "Now we can have a proper discussion," he said, "without amateur interruptions from species who barely know how to travel between stars." The other counselors nodded. The Rigelian representative's feathers turned bright green, which meant she was happy. The Draconian representative sat straighter in her chair. Even the smaller species seemed relieved. High Chancellor Zorthek leaned forward in his metal chair. "Good," he said in his deep voice. "Now we can talk about real solutions. The Zephyrian Empire needs those 3 star systems. We are willing to negotiate, but we will not accept weak compromises." "Of course," Vextar said. "We understand that growing empires need room to expand. The question is how to do this fairly." For the next 6 hours, the remaining 11 species talked and argued. They drew maps of the star systems. They calculated the value of different planets. They discussed trade routes and mining rights. But something was wrong. Every solution they proposed had problems. When the Rigelians suggested splitting the systems in half, the Zephyrians said it would not work. When the Draconians proposed a time-sharing arrangement, the smaller species said it was too complicated. As the day went on, the discussions became more heated. The Zephyrians demanded more territory. The smaller species refused to give up their home worlds. The larger species could not agree on how to divide things fairly. "This is taking too long," Zorthik said finally. "The Zephyrian Empire is running out of patience." "We need more time to think," said the representative from the Kepler species, one of the smaller groups. "Time is what we do not have," Zorthik replied. "Every day we delay, more Zephyrian families need new homes." Meanwhile, the U.E.'s horizon was flying through space toward Earth. Jake Morrison sat in the captain's chair, looking out at the stars. Lisa Carter was at her computer, typing messages. Kyle Rogers was reading reports on his tablet. "The communications are starting," Lisa said. "I am getting messages from 17 different species." Jake turned to look at her. "What kind of messages?" "Questions," Lisa replied. "They want to know why we left the peace talks. They want to know if we are coming back. They want to know if we are still willing to help with their problems." Kyle looked up from his tablet. "Which species are contacting us?" Lisa read from her screen. "The Vegan Alliance wants to know about the food supply program. The Procyon Federation is asking about the medical aid shipments. The Tau Ceti colonies want to know about the terraforming project." Jake frowned. These were not the species that had been at the peace talks. These were smaller groups, species that most people never heard about. "Are these the ones we have been helping?" "Some of them," Lisa said. "But not all. There are others too. The Barnard Star Settlements want to know about the communication network. The Wolf 359 Mining Consortium is asking about the trade agreements." Kyle put down his tablet. "How many species are we talking about?" Lisa checked her computer. "So far, 43 different groups have sent messages, and more are coming in every hour." Jake was quiet for a moment. "Do the people at the peace talks know about these groups?" "I do not think so," Lisa replied. "Most of these species are too small to have seats on the Galactic Council. They are not involved in the big political discussions. But they are involved with us," Kyle said. "Yes," Lisa nodded. "We have been working with them for years. Food programs, medical aid, technology sharing, conflict resolution. Small things that do not make the news." Back at the council station, the first day of talks had ended without any agreement. The representatives went to their quarters to rest and think. But some of them were starting to notice strange things. The Rigelian representative tried to call her homeworld, but the communication took much longer than usual. The Draconian representative found that her messages to the mining colonies were being delayed. The Centauran representative discovered that trade reports from 3 different sectors were overdue. Probably just technical problems, Vextar said when others mentioned these issues. These things happen sometimes. But the problems got worse on the second day. The Procyon Federation sent a message to the Council saying that their medical supply deliveries had stopped. The Vegan Alliance reported that their food distribution network was having problems. 3 different mining operations said that their equipment shipments were delayed. What is happening? Asked the representative from the Kepler species. Nothing that concerns us, Zorthik said. We are here to discuss the 3 star systems. These other problems are not our responsibility. But the problems kept growing. By the 3rd day, reports were coming in from all over the galaxy. Communication networks were running slowly. Trade routes were experiencing delays. Several small conflicts that had been quiet for months were starting to heat up again. The Draconian representative was the first to ask the important question. Where are the humans now? On their way back to Earth, Vextar said. Good riddance. We do not need their amateur help. But these problems started right after they left, she pointed out. Coincidence, Vextar said quickly. The humans were not involved in any of these systems anyway. They are too new to space to be running important operations. But the Draconian representative was not convinced. She sent a private message to her government, asking them to check on all the systems that were having problems. The answer came back the next morning. Her government had discovered something surprising. In almost every case, the problems were connected to programs that humans had been running quietly in the background. The medical supply network that was failing? It had been organized by human doctors who worked with dozens of species. The food distribution system that had stopped working? It was managed by human agricultural experts who knew how to grow food on different types of planets. The communication delays? The human embassy had been running backup servers that kept messages flowing when the main systems were overloaded. This cannot be right, Vextar said when he heard the report. Humans do not have the experience to run galactic operations. But they have been doing it, the Draconian representative said, for years without telling anyone. Kyle Rogers was reading similar reports on the UE's horizon. How long have we been doing this? He asked Lisa. Lisa looked through her files. The first food program started 8 years ago, she said. The medical aid network began 6 years ago. The communication backup systems have been running for 5 years. The conflict resolution program started 3 years ago. And nobody on the Galactic Council knew about any of this? They never asked, Lisa said. These were all small programs, working with species that do not have council seats. We did not think it was important enough to mention in the big political meetings. Jake was beginning to understand. So while the council was having big debates about major policy, we were actually solving problems one at a time. Exactly. Lisa said, we were not trying to run galactic politics. We were just helping where we could. And now that we are gone, all of these small programs are falling apart. It looks that way, Kyle said. Without human coordination, these networks do not know how to work together. Back at the council station, the peace talks were falling apart too. The Zephyrians were getting impatient. The smaller species were getting scared. The larger species were getting frustrated. We need to make a decision, Zorthik said on the 4th day. The Zephyrian Empire will not wait much longer. We cannot agree on anything, said the Kepler representative. Every solution has problems. Then maybe we need different solutions, said the Rigelian representative. Her feathers had turned dark blue, which meant she was worried. Maybe we need to think about this differently. How? Asked Vextar. Maybe we need to ask the humans to come back, she said quietly. The room became very quiet. Vextar's yellow eyes grew wide. Absolutely not, he said. We do not need amateur help from a species that barely knows how to fly between stars. But the problem started when they left, the Draconian representative pointed out. Coincidence, Vextar said again. But he did not sound as sure as before. Maybe, said the Centaurian representative, but maybe not. Maybe the humans were doing more than we realized. High Chancellor Zorthik listened to this discussion with interest. He had been watching the reports about the failing networks. He had been noticing the communication delays. He had been seeing the trade disruptions. And he had been wondering if the humans might be more important than they appeared. The Zephyrian Empire will make its decision tomorrow, he announced, with or without a peace agreement. We cannot wait any longer. That night, several representatives sent private messages to their governments. They all asked the same question. What exactly had the humans been doing in their part of the galaxy? The answers they got back were very surprising. The next morning brought terrible news to the Galactic Council station. The Rigelian representative received a message that made her feathers turn bright red with alarm. The Rigelian Centauri border dispute has exploded, she announced to the Council. 3 of our cargo ships were attacked yesterday. The Centaurians say we violated their space routes. The Centaurian representative's 6 legs clicked nervously on the floor. That is not true, he said. The Rigelians sent ships through our mining zones without permission. We have been using those routes for 2 years, the Rigelian replied. There was never a problem before. Because someone was managing the schedule, the Centaurian said. Someone was making sure our mining ships and your cargo ships did not meet in the same place at the same time. Both representatives stared at each other. Who was managing the schedule? They asked at the same time that the answer came from the Draconian representative. She had been checking her government's records all night. Human traffic controllers, she said quietly. They had a small office on the space station at Wolf 359. They were coordinating ship movements for 17 different species. Counselor. Vextar's 4 arms waved angrily. Impossible, he said. Humans do not have the authority to control space traffic. They were not controlling it, the Draconian explained. They were just helping everyone avoid accidents. When a Rigelian cargo ship needed to pass through Centaurian space, the human controllers would check the mining schedule and suggest the best time to travel. That is true, the Centaurian admitted. Our mining foremen always checked with the human office before starting big operations. They helped us avoid conflicts. And now they are gone, the Rigelian said, so nobody is coordinating anything. Before anyone could respond, more bad news arrived. The representative from the Procyon Federation sent an urgent message. 3. Refugee camps in the Procyon system had run out of food and medical supplies. How is that possible? Asked Vextar. The Procyon system has plenty of resources. The refugees are not from Procyon, the message explained. They are from the Kepler system, the vegan colonies, and the Tau Ceti settlements. They were moved to Procyon camps 2 years ago when their home worlds had problems. Who moved them? Asked the Kepler representative. The answer came from another message. Human relief workers. They organized the whole refugee program. They arranged transportation, found places for people to live, and set up supply lines to keep everyone fed and healthy. But surely the Procyon government can handle this, Vextar said. The Procyon government does not know how, came the reply. The humans were managing everything. They knew which camps needed what supplies. They knew which refugees had special medical needs. They knew which families were separated and needed to be reunited. Kyle Rogers was reading the same reports on the UES horizon. How many refugee camps are we talking about? He asked Lisa. Lisa checked her computer. 47 camps across 19 different systems, she said. About 2 million refugees. In total, Jake Morrison whistled softly. I had no idea we were helping so many people. Neither did I, Kyle admitted. Each program seemed small by itself, but when you had them all together, ... We were basically running a shadow government, Lisa said. Not officially. Not with any real authority. But we were solving problems that nobody else wanted to deal with. Back at the council station, the situation was getting worse by the hour. The Zephyrians were taking advantage of the chaos. High Chancellor Zorthuk announced that Zephyrian military ships were moving toward the 3 disputed star systems. We cannot wait any longer, he said. While you argue about minor problems, the Zephyrian Empire has real needs. We will take what we require. You cannot just invade those systems, protested the Kepler representative. Watch us, Zorthik replied with his sharp-toothed smile. The smaller species were terrified. The larger species were angry. But nobody knew what to do. Every time they tried to organize a response, they discovered that another human program had stopped working. The Altarian military wanted to send ships to stop the Zephyrians, but they could not coordinate with their allies. The communication network that usually handled military messages was down. It turned out that human technicians had been maintaining the backup servers that kept military communications secure. The draconian government tried to organize an economic boycott of Zephyrian goods, but they could not reach their trading partners. The commercial communication network was also failing. Human engineers had been quietly upgrading the software that managed interstellar trade messages. Even the Rigelian attempt to call for a vote of no confidence in the Zephyrian government failed. The political networks that carried official council business were running too slowly to handle urgent messages. Once again, human computer experts had been maintaining the systems that nobody else thought about. This is a disaster, the draconian representative said. Everything is falling apart. It is not falling apart, Vexstar insisted. These are just temporary problems. We can fix them. How? Asked the Centaurian representative. Do you know? How to coordinate refugee camps? Do you know how to schedule cargo ships to avoid conflicts? Do you know how to maintain communication networks? Vexstar was quiet for a moment. We can learn, he said finally. That will take years, the Rigelian representative said. People are suffering now. The Zephyrians are attacking now. We need solutions now. Then what do you suggest? Vexstar asked. The room was quiet. Everyone knew the answer, but nobody wanted to say it. Finally, the smallest representative spoke up. She was from the Kepler system, and her people were among those being threatened by the Zephyrians. Her voice was soft, but everyone could hear her. We need to call the humans back, she said. Vexstar's yellow eyes blazed with anger. Never, he said. We do not need amateur help from a species that has barely learned to fly between stars. But they were not amateurs, the draconian representative sighed. They were experts. They knew more about running galactic operations than any of us realized. That is impossible, Vexstar said. They have only been in space for 200 years. Maybe that is why they were so good at it, the Centaurian suggested. They did not have old habits to break. They did not have pride to protect. They just saw problems and fixed them. The Rigelian representative nodded. We older species always think about politics first, she said. We worry about who gets credit, who has authority, who looks important. The humans just focused on making things work. And now that they are gone, nothing works. The Kepler representative added. High Chancellor Zorthik had been listening to this discussion with great interest. He stood up from his metal chair and smiled his sharp-toothed smile. The Zephyrian Empire has made its decision, he announced. Our ships will reach the first disputed system in 6 hours. We will take control of the 3 systems by force. You cannot do that, the Kepler representative said desperately. Who will stop us? Zorthik asked. Your military cannot coordinate without human communication networks. Your governments cannot organize a response without human administrative systems. Your relief organizations cannot help refugees without human logistics experts. He was right, and everyone knew it. The Ephorians had chosen their timing perfectly. They were attacking just when the galaxy was most vulnerable. There is one thing. You forgot, said a new voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Captain Jake Morrison walking into the council chamber. Behind him came Dr. Lisa Carter and Ambassador Kyle Rogers. They looked calm and confident, like people who had expected this moment. The humans came back, Jake said simply. Vexstar stood up so fast that his chair fell over. You were not invited back, he said angrily. No, Jake agreed, but we were asked to come back by 47 different species. In the last 24 hours. Impossible, Vexstar said. Lisa stepped forward with a tablet computer. The Procyon Federation officially requested human aid for their refugee crisis, she said. The Rigelian government asked for help with their shipping disputes. The Draconian Empire requested technical support for their communication networks. The Centauri Republic asked for assistance with their mining operations. She continued, reading, the Vegan Alliance wants food distribution help. The Tau Ceti colonies need terraforming experts. The Barnard Star settlements requested communication network maintenance. The Wolf 359 Consortium asked for trade route coordination. And that is just the beginning, Kyle added. We received formal requests from 47 different governments. Some are council members, some were not. But all of them want human help, Zorthik laughed. It does not matter, he said. The Zephyrian Empire will still take those 3 systems. You cannot stop us. Jake looked at the Zephyrian leader with calm eyes. We are not here to stop you, he said. We are here to help you. Help us? Zorthik was confused. Yes, Jake said. We know why you really need those 3 systems. And we know how to solve your real problem. The room became very quiet. Everyone stared at Jake Morrison, wondering what he meant. You see, Jake continued, while you were all arguing about territory and politics, we were actually talking to your people. The Zephyrian farmers who need new land. The Zephyrian families who need new homes. The Zephyrian scientists who are trying to solve your real crisis. Zorthik's sharp smile dissap. The entire council chamber became silent. High Chancellor Zorthik's gray skin turned even paler. His sharp teeth disappeared as his mouth closed. For the first time since the talks began, he looked scared instead of angry. How do you know about that? He asked quietly. Jake Morrison sat down in the human chair that had been empty for days. Because 3 months ago, a Zephyrian scientist named Dr. Kexton contacted our research station on Mars. He was desperate. He said his government would not listen to him, but he had to tell someone. Lisa Carter opened her folder and pulled out a thick report. Your home star is entering the final stage of its life cycle, she said. Dr. Kexton's calculations show that it will expand into a red giant within 50 years. When that happens, your home world will be burned to nothing. That is impossible, said Councillor Vexstar. The Zephyrian sun is stable. It has been stable for millions of years. Stars change, Lisa explained. Even stable stars eventually run out of fuel. When they do, they expand and get very hot. Any planets close to the star will be destroyed. Zorthik sat down heavily in his metal chair. Dr. Kexton was told to stop his research, he said. The Zephyrian High Command said his predictions were wrong. They were not wrong, Kyle Rogers said gently. We had our best scientists check his work. Dr. Kexton is right. Your son is dying. But 50 years is a long time, the Rigelian representative said. Surely the Zephyrians can find a solution. Not if they keep fighting wars, Jake said. Moving an entire civilization to new worlds is the biggest project anyone has ever attempted. It requires cooperation from dozens of species. It requires resources from hundreds of worlds. It requires peace. And instead, you chose war, Lisa added. You decided to take systems by force instead of asking for help. Zorthic's hands shook as he spoke. The Zephyrian Empire has been strong for 1,000 years, he said. We do not beg for help. We do not show weakness. Needing help is not weakness, Jake said. It is just reality. No species can solve every problem alone. Even humans ask for help, Kyle added. We have been asking for help ever since we joined the galactic community. We ask for technology, for knowledge, for resources. That is how we learn so much so quickly. But you are a young species, Vextar said. It is natural for young species to need help. The Zephyrians are an old, proud empire, and that pride is going to kill them, Lisa said bluntly. In 50 years, their home world will be gone. Their people will be dead. Their proud empire will be nothing but a memory. Unless they accept help, Jake said. Unless they work with other species to find a solution. Zorthic was quiet for a long time. Around the room, the other representatives waited. Finally, he spoke. What kind of help? He asked. Jake smiled. The kind of help that humans are good at organizing. We have been thinking about your problem. For 3 months, we have some ideas, such as... Lisa pulled out another report. The 3 star systems you want to conquer have 47 planets, she said. 12 of these planets could be made suitable for Zephyrian life with terraforming technology. 8 more could be used for mining and industry. The remaining planets could be used for agriculture and energy production. That is not enough for our entire population, Zorthic said. You are right, Kyle agreed. But those 3 systems are not the only option. We have identified 17 other systems that could support Zephyrian colonies. Some of these systems are empty. Others have small populations that might be willing to share. Willing to share? Zorthic looked confused. Yes, Jake said, if you ask nicely instead of attacking them. We also have terraforming technology that could make the process much faster, Lisa added. Human engineers have been working on new methods for changing planetary environments. We could share this technology with the Zephyrian Empire. And we have contact with 47 different species that have resources you would need. Kyle sighed. Food, building materials, transportation, medical supplies. Everything required to move billions of people to new worlds. The Draconian representative leaned forward. The Draconian Empire would be willing to help, she said. We have experience with large construction projects. We could help build cities on the new worlds. The Regelian Alliance has the best transportation ships in the galaxy, the Regelian representative added. We could help move people and supplies. The Centaurian Republic has mining technology that could help prepare the new worlds, the Centaurian representative said. One by one, the other species offered to help. Even the smaller species, the ones that the Zephyrians had been threatening, said they would contribute what they could. Zorthic listened to all of these offers with growing amazement. Why? He asked finally. Why would you help us after we threatened you? Because that is what civilized species do, said the Kepler representative. We help each other. And because we all have problems that might need solving someday, the Draconian representative said, today it is the Zephyrian sun. Tomorrow it might be our world that needs help. But Counselor Vextar was not happy with this turn of events. His forearms waved angrily as he stood up. Wait, he said loudly. We cannot just ignore what happened here. The humans left these peace talks. They abandoned their responsibilities. What? Responsibilities? Jake asked calmly. The responsibility to participate properly, Vextar said. The responsibility to respect the authority of older, more experienced species. You mean the responsibility to sit quietly while you ignored our ideas? Lisa asked. Your ideas were not appropriate for this situation, Vextar insisted. You do not have enough experience in galactic politics. Jake stood up and looked directly at Vextar. You are right, he said. We do not have much experience in galactic politics, but we have a lot of experience in solving problems. While you were having political discussions, Kyle added, we were actually fixing things. For years. That is different, Vextar said. Those were small problems, not major galactic issues. Were they? Lisa asked. She opened her tablet and began reading. Let me tell you about some of these small problems we solved. The Rigelian Centauri shipping conflict that just exploded? We had been preventing that for 2 years by coordinating schedules. The refugee crisis that is happening right now? We had been managing camps for 2 million displaced people. The communication network failures that are crippling your military. Response? We had been maintaining the backup systems that kept everything running. The trade route disruptions that are hurting your economies? We had been organizing cargo schedules for 43 different species. She looked up at Vextar. Were these really small problems? You were doing all of this without authorization, Vex_Tar said desperately. You had no right to interfere. In galactic affairs, we had no right to help people? Jake asked. You had no right to do it secretly, Vextar replied. You should have asked permission from the proper authorities. Who? Kyle asked. Which proper authorities should we have? Asked. Vextar was quiet for a moment. The Galactic Council, of course. The same Galactic Council that just voted to exclude us from important discussions? Jake asked. The same council that called us amateurs and told us to observe and learn from our betters? That is different, Vextar said weakly. No, it is. Not, the Rigelian representative said. Her feathers had turned deep blue with sadness. We made a terrible mistake. We thought the humans were too young and inexperienced to contribute, but they were actually more experienced than any of us. How can they be more experienced? Vextar asked. They have only been in space for 200 years. Because they spent those 200 years learning instead of talking, the Centaurian representative said. While we were having political debates, they were solving real problems. They were not trying to gain power or status, the Draconian representative added. They were just trying to help. And we ignored them, the Kepler representative said. Sadly, we told them they were too young to understand galactic affairs, but they understood better than we did. Zorthik had been listening to this discussion with great interest. Finally, he spoke. The Zephyrian Empire withdraws its invasion fleet, he announced. Everyone turned to stare at him. What? Vextar asked. Our ships will return to Zephyrian space, Zorthik said. We accept the human offer of help. We will work with other species to solve our real problem instead of creating new problems with war. But you were so determined to take those systems, the Rigelian representative said. That was before I understood what was really happening, Zorthik replied. I thought the other species were weak and divided. I thought they could not work together to stop us. I was wrong. They are not weak, Jake said. They just needed better coordination. And that is what humans do best, Lisa added. We coordinate. We organize. We help different groups work together. Even when those groups do not appreciate your help, Kyle said, looking at Vextar. Vextar's yellow eyes looked down at the floor. Perhaps we were too hasty in our judgment, he said quietly. Perhaps? The Draconian representative asked. We were wrong, Vextar admitted. The humans were not too inexperienced to contribute. We were too proud to listen. And too stupid to realize what we were throwing away, the Rigelian representative added. Jake sat back down in his chair. What matters now is what we do next, he said. The galaxy has problem. 6 months later, Captain Jake Morrison stood in a very different council chamber. The room was still round, but now it had 24 seats instead of 12. The new seats were simple and practical, all made in the same style. No species had fancier chairs than any other species. Jake looked around the room with satisfaction. Representatives from twice as many species now participated in galactic decisions. The smaller species that had been ignored before now had voices in important discussions. Even tiny colonies with only a few thousand people could send observers to learn how galactic cooperation worked. Dr. Lisa Carter sat at a new workstation that had been built into the wall. Her computer screens showed the status of dozens of projects happening across the galaxy. Green lights meant everything was working properly. There were a lot of green lights. The Zephyrian relocation project is ahead of schedule, she reported. To the room. The first colony ships will arrive at New Zephyr next month. The terraforming work is going very well. High Chancellor Zorthik nodded happily. He looked very different from the angry leader who had threatened war 6 months ago. His gray skin looked healthier, and he smiled often. The Zephyrian people are grateful, he said. Our children will have new worlds to grow up on. The Draconian construction teams have done excellent work, said the Draconian representative. The new cities on New Zephyr will be ready for the first families. And the Rigelian transport fleet is performing perfectly, added the Rigelian representative. Her feathers were bright green with happiness. Moving 2 billion people is the largest project in galactic history, but everything is going smoothly. Kyle. Rogers looked up from his tablet. We have received requests for help from 3 new species this week, he said. The Sirius Commonwealth wants assistance with their food distribution network. The Capella Alliance needs help organizing their mining operations. And we got a very interesting message from outside our galaxy. Everyone in the room became quiet. Outside our galaxy? Asked Counselor Vextar. Yes, Kyle said. A species from the Andromeda Galaxy detected our quantum communication network. They want to know if they can join our cooperative system. Jake smiled. What did you tell them? I told them we would discuss it at the next council meeting, Kyle replied. But I think we should say yes. The whole point of our new system is to include everyone who wants to help. I agree, said Zorthik. The Zephyrian Empire supports expanding our cooperation to other galaxies. So do the Draconians, said their representative. One by one, the other species agreed. Even Vextar raised his arms in support. It is decided then, Jake said. We will invite our new friends from Andromeda to send representatives. The meeting continued for another hour. They discussed progress on 17 different projects. They planned new programs to help struggling colonies. They scheduled visits to species that wanted to join their cooperative network. Everything was working so well that it was hard to remember how chaotic things had been just 6 months ago. After the meeting ended, Jake walked through the corridors of the rebuilt council station. The walls now displayed artwork from dozens of different species. Human paintings hung next to Rigelian sculptures and Draconian metalwork. The station felt like a place where everyone belonged. He found Vextar standing in front of a large window that looked out at the stars. The Altarian counselor was quiet, watching ships from many different species dock at the station. Regrets? Jake asked, standing beside him. Many, Vextar replied. I think about what might have happened if we had not dismissed you that first day, how much suffering we could have prevented. We all make mistakes, Jake said. What matters is learning from them. You are very generous, Vex_Tar said. After the way we treated you, you would have been justified in refusing to help us. Jake was quiet for a moment. That is not how humans think, he said finally. When someone needs help, we help them. It does not matter if they were rude to you before. That is what makes you different, Vextar said. Other species, including mine, help their friends and ignore their enemies. You help everyone. Because everyone can become a friend, Jake replied. Even enemies can change their minds. Like the Zephyrians? Like the Zephyrians, Jake agreed. 6 months ago, they were ready to start a war. Now they are one of our best partners in the relocation project. Vextar nodded. And like the Altarians. 6 months ago, I thought humans were too inexperienced to contribute anything valuable. Now I know that experience is not the same thing as wisdom. What do you mean? Experience is just knowing what happened in the past, Vextar explained. Wisdom is knowing how to make the future better. You humans have wisdom, even if you do not have as much experience as older species. Maybe that helps, Jake suggested. We do not have old habits that prevent us from trying new things. Maybe, Vextar agreed. Or maybe you are just naturally good at seeing what others need. They stood quietly for a while, watching the busy space traffic around the station. Ships from 24 different species were coming and going. Some brought supplies for the Zephyrian relocation project. Others carried diplomats to new negotiations. A few were exploration vessels heading out to make contact with species that had never been part of the galactic community. Jake, Vextar said suddenly. Yes? Thank you for coming back. Thank you for not giving up on us, even after we gave up on you. Jake turned to look at the Altarian counselor. We never gave up on you, he said. We just needed some time to show you what we could do. And now? Now we work together, Jake said simply. That was always the plan. A soft chime sounded through the station's communication system. Attention all personnel, said a voice in perfect galactic standard. The U's Harmony has arrived with the first refugee families from the Kepler evacuation. Docking Bay 7 is ready to receive them. Jake smiled. Another problem solved, he said. Another group of people helped, Vextar corrected. Same thing, Jake replied. They watched through the window as a human ship docked at the station. The ship was not the largest or the most impressive vessel in the docking bay, but it was carrying precious cargo, families who had lost their homes and needed a new place to start over in a few hours. Those families would be on their way too. New worlds where other species were waiting to help them build new lives. The Draconians had prepared housing. The Regellians had arranged transportation. The Centaurians had found jobs for the adults. The humans had coordinated everything too. Make sure the families felt welcome. This is what the galaxy should be like, Vextar said quietly. This is what the galaxy is like now, Jake corrected. As long as we keep working together. And if we forget? If we start fighting again? Jake thought about this question for a moment. Then we will remind each other why cooperation works better than conflict, he said. That is what friends do. Lisa Carter's voice came over the communication system. Jake, we just got another message from the Andromeda Galaxy. They want to know if we can help them solve a dispute between two of their species. Jake and Vextar looked at each other and smiled. Tell them yes, Jake said into his communicator. Tell them that is exactly what we do. As he walked back toward the council chamber, Jake thought about how much had changed in just 6 months. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still problems to solve and conflicts to resolve. But now there was a system in place to handle these challenges. Now there were species working together instead of fighting each other. The Galactic Council had made a mistake when they dismissed humanity as too young and inexperienced to contribute. But they had learned from that mistake. They had realized that wisdom could come from unexpected places. They had discovered that the newest member of their community might also be their most valuable partner. And most importantly, they had learned that true strength came not from dominating others, but from helping them succeed. Jake paused at the entrance to the council chamber and looked back at the busy corridors of the station. Representatives from dozens of species were working together on projects that would help billions of people across multiple galaxies. It was a good day to be human. It was a good day to be part of something bigger than any one species could accomplish. Alone. It was a good day to prove that cooperation could overcome any challenge, solve any problem, and unite any group of beings who were willing to work together. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate the species that puts helping others above helping themselves. And humanity had learned something, too. Sometimes the best way to gain respect is not to demand it, but to earn it by making everyone around you more successful. Jake smiled and walked into the council chamber, ready for whatever challenge the galaxy would present next. Whatever it was, he knew they would face it together. And together, they could solve anything.